Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the FamilyDeal.com 7 Sports Cave. I'm your host, Justin Rose. On tonight's show, Mike Sullivan, 97.1 The Ticket. What's up, man?
Good to see you as always, brother.
When the big Mr. Sullivan comes to town,
oh, please.
We like to come down to the big set to really roll out
great.
the red carpet for him.
It's awesome.
Championship Sunday. How was your Sunday?
It was good, man. It was good. Watch it with some friends. It was fun. And one of the games went kind of how I expected, the other completely opposite. So it was unpredictable.
I'm looking forward to finding out which one of those is the one that went the opposite way you would have expected.
Absolutely.
Let's get into it, though. I know that you'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of people around this area who'd have a lot of sympathy for another NFC team missing out on going to the Super Bowl, especially when it's Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Wah. Tonight, the Packers had a chance to get back to NFL's biggest game, but the 49ers, they were also looking to get back there for the first time since Jim Harbaugh took them there in 2013. Tevin Coleman, he left the game with a shoulder injury in the first quarter, but Raheem Mostert, he was a popular waiver wire pickup in most fantasy leagues this year. He showed out tonight, Mr. Sullivan. 4 touchdown runs for the young fella.
Unreal, just super quick as soon as he touches the ball.
I mean, it's unbelievable with this guy. You know, he's shown flashes of it this year. But look, 6 different teams had him throughout his entire career. He only had a couple of carries before the 49ers gave him an opportunity. And on the biggest stage, he shows up. But the Packers, they're a second-half team. I said that going into the break when they were up big. However, look, this ground game, I mean, Jimmy G throws the ball 8 times this whole game, Mike. I mean, this is unbelievable from that offensive line.
Well, in 6 for 8, we can see if he can get away with doing that in the Super Bowl. Obviously, I think he's going to have to throw the ball a little more.
37-20, the final. 49ers, there it is, NFC champs.
I just woke up like it was any other game, and it was one of those things where, hey, you know, once we all get in the groove, we're just going to keep it riding, keep it going, and that's what we did.
Our team is just, it's incredible to be a part of. We can win so many different ways. I mean, Raheem, those guys up front, the tight ends, obviously, were just dominating tonight. It was fun.
Our guys are running so hard. Our line coming off the ball, our backs. All 11 of our guys have been all year. The guys fought hard as heck, and we're going to put all in their hands.
Of course, look, that game, was that the game that you thought would go the way that it did? Or is that the one you were surprised about?
Honestly, Justin, that was the complete opposite what I thought.
Really?
I thought the Green Bay was going to win. I was way off on that one. And, hey, credit to the 49ers. Their scheme was fantastic. Just what they do on offense, they just meticulously pick defenses apart. It was unbelievable, and they deserve a ton of credit.
What I like most about what the 49ers do is obviously they play such good, stout defense. That front seven is as good as any there is in the NFL, and that's what's going to be so interesting as we look forward to who they're going to be playing, how they're going to shut down a little bit of a different type of attack, because we all know Aaron Rodgers, they want to try to establish the run to open up the pass.
Right.
But in this particular game, that was not working for them at all.
No, absolutely, and that's kind of what it is, too. Within the flow of the game, you have to figure out what's working, what's not working, and I think that you come into the game with a certain game plan, but as every game flows, you have to adjust to that. And I think the 49ers are one of the best teams in the league at adjusting to what the other team is giving them, and they just totally proved it today.
What do you think about the thought out there that the smoke and mirrors for Green Bay this year? 13-3 going into the game, 14-3, I guess, if you will. But I don't necessarily think you win that many games with smoke and mirrors so much, but they weren't some powerhouse team.
No, if you win 13 games, that's not smoke and mirrors. I'm never going to discredit a team and say that. I think that it's a combination. Matt LaFleur, that was the preseason question, right? How is LaFleur and Rodgers going to mesh together? I thought they did a good job of it overall. Certainly, it's not their goal is not to be eliminated heading into the Super Bowl, obviously. But overall, there's no way you can say that they were just a total scrub team this year. You win 13 games, you're still a darn good team, and I think they deserve credit for that. But there's something about that team where defensively and just overall with playmakers, they can't get over the top. And that's something that I think Aaron Rodgers desperately needs. If he wants to truly be in that Tom Brady conversation, he needs another Super Bowl. And I love the guy, but he needs another one.
Well, Jimmy G's going to get his first crack at getting one, but the Cinderella story of these NFL playoffs, no doubt, is the Tennessee Titans. Stout defense, a great running game, a quarterback who excellent out of the play actions, all the things Matt Patricia wants to do here in Detroit. They had the tough task of beating the new IT team, though, in the NFL. As we all know, Kansas City was hoping to march on to the final destination for the first time in 50 years. See, there's been a drought in other teams before. Now, of course, Tennessee They have been that Cinderella story, as I mentioned, getting up early on teams, Mike. Did you feel like this had an eerie feeling like it did last week when they got down big?
I did. At first, I really thought that. And it was never one of those things, though, Justin, where I still believe that Kansas City was in control of the game.
It's going to be interesting because in the Super Bowl, they do this type of thing where they get behind late. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because I feel like Kansas City plays so well downhill. Like when they get rolling under the pressure and they need to have big plays like this one from Patty Mahomes, I don't know. It's like if they were to get out to a lead, could it snowball the other way on them?
It could, because I think San Francisco's too well coached of a team where they're not going to just be able to get away with stuff like that. They're going to be able to step on your throat a little bit.
Is San Francisco going to be able to stop plays like that? No, that's just Sammy Watkins. That's not even one of their bigger playmakers in Tyreek Hill. But look, Pat Mahomes would have been a Tigers prospect. He was drafted by the team. He is going with the Chiefs to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years, 35-24.
That's what we preached as a team was we want to be here. We want to be in the Super Bowl, but we have to take advantage of every single day that we get. And so I think the biggest thing for us is that every single day that we just did that.
They work hard, never give up. They're going to give you 4 quarters of honest football every snap. And I appreciate that. They don't care about the score. They just bring it. And that's paid off for us the last couple of weeks.
There's a lot of people happy for Andy Reid out there. I mean, for the job that he's done, inheriting, I guess, Patrick Mahomes and the crew offensively that they've been able to put together. I mean, is this team that, in my opinion, I think they're the front runner to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I was watching the game today with some friends, and one of the things that my buddy Danny asked me, he goes, "Hey, all right, Super Bowl's set. Who do you think? Who's going to win?" And I honestly paused for probably about 10 seconds, and I was thinking about it, and I go, you know what? I really got to almost think about this a little more. I think that the point spread opened up at 1.5. And honestly, Justin, I think that there's a true case right now to be made for either team. And I'm not trying, that's no cop-out, but when you break down the game, when you look at the numbers on both sides, I could easily understand at least the argument for either side. Now, I would favor the Niners a little bit. I think they're, again, extremely well coached. I think they're super talented. I love Pat Mahomes. I don't like betting against him, but overall, the 49ers are so fundamentally sound. I would personally favor them slightly right now to win the Super Bowl, but 2 weeks is a long time. Any opinion can change in 2 weeks.
One of the things I'm really interested to see is exactly how much Jimmy G is going to have to throw the football, because if they get down big, that gets them off the track of what they like to do, which is run, play good defense, control the clock, all the things the Lions wish they could do. On the other hand, like we saw in the last 2 weeks, the Chiefs have no problem getting down 14, 21 points and saying, all right, now we're going to chuck it all over the backyard and we're going to run it up on you. And they've shown that they can do that 2 straight weeks.
Well, and I think that's a credit, 2 things. First and foremost, it's a credit to Pat Mahomes and what he's able to do offensively. The guy's just a magician, right? If they're down, no worries. Let me just throw a couple touchdowns real quick, get us right back into the game. And that's important to note. But the other thing, you mentioned Andy Reid. Talk about a guy that's been an incredible coach his entire career, but he doesn't have that ultimate prize. Right? And I think that you want to talk about one of the biggest things that, certainly being in the media industry, you joke about is, hey, it's that 2-week layoff. There's a million storylines. Every single TV station, radio station, newspaper is trying to find content.
Right.
Guess what one of the biggest stories is going to be the next 2 weeks? Can Andy Reid finally get it done?
Right.
Is Andy Reid finally going to get that Super Bowl that he needs for his resume in terms of his all-time coaching career? That's going to be a storyline to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, and it's also as the baton being passed to Patrick Mahomes or Jimmy Garoppolo, because the winning quarterback of this game is going to be looked at least going into next season, the season after that, the season after that, as the king, if you will, of the NFL's young quarterback group. Lamar Jackson obviously doing his thing in Baltimore. He's in that mix as well. Baker Mayfield's not because he's a bust. But there's so much riding on this game. I think it's got so much more intrigue because we've heard the same old story of the New England Patriots and Tom Brady for so many years, and I think people are sick of that. So this is a fresh life of Super Bowl.
And certainly the point's well taken. Jimmy Garoppolo was 6 of 8 today, right? In the Super Bowl, if you and I were had to say right now, he needs to throw the ball more than 8 times, okay? That can't happen in the Super Bowl. But it's funny, all jokes aside about Pat Mahomes being a Tigers draft pick and whatnot, the one parallel you can draw, and I was texting some friends about this earlier too, is I'm not ready to say it in any way yet, but people are going to start to compare, hey, year 3 of Shanahan and Lynch in San Francisco They started out the first 2 years bad. Now they're in the Super Bowl. Can the Lions be that team in their third year with their new regime? That's something that I don't agree with, but I'm just saying, Justin, locally, people are going to start to draw that parallels, and Chris Spielman already has, with questioning whether the Lions can be that third-year magic team next year like the 49ers model.
The camera is finally going to switch to the two-shot, and I've been staring at it the whole time that rant was going on.
I don't agree with it, but people have already, even before this, drawn that parallel.
Sure, and at the same time, if we do try to localize this very quickly, look, the Lions are a team that want to do it the way the 49ers are doing it.
Exactly.
Are they a piece or two away? Probably not.
More than that.
But at the same time, the formula is there. We're witnessing it in real time. All right, man. Thanks, you.
Brother.
Listen to him. 97 The Ticket. The Mike Valeni Show, 2 to 6 each day throughout the week. Of course, he's going to have some hot takes. We need more sirens in this place. All right, man. Thank you very much. Coming up next, though, Dan Wetzel put out an unbelievable documentary about the Aaron Hernandez saga, murder trial, and all that stuff. I sat down with him earlier this week to talk about it. That's coming up next here on the 7 Sports Game. Stay with us. Really excited to have Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports columnist, on the show. He takes a little dabble into movie making now with
Very Hollywood.
Very Hollywood. If you haven't seen him already, you probably haven't been on Netflix since Wednesday, because he is one of the main driving forces behind the new Aaron Hernandez documentary that just came out on the 15th. And I mean, just watching this thing, wow. I mean, reason you're behind it, executive producer is because covering the case all those years ago and being around, and just the connections with the people on the streets, the neighbors, the people in the community. I mean, you guys had to really put some work in for this.
Well, Aaron Hernandez is the wildest story I've ever covered, and I've covered some sad ones, some big stories, but the sheer magnitude of it. You have a guy who, while playing in the NFL, had just received a $40 million contract, has a fiance and a little baby and a beautiful mansion, seemingly everything going for him, is involved allegedly in up to 7 shootings and 3 murders, including a double homicide case where at the very least he was present at, and then he played an entire year in the NFL. We just simply have never seen a case like this. O.J. Simpson was obviously a huge story. That happened after he was retired, and it was about domestic violence, not just these random killings. So it is a story that has guns and drugs and football and the betrayal and loyalty and all sorts of different things. So from the start, it was a case journalistically that I covered that just was overwhelming, and we always thought would play very well in this type of a thing that Netflix ended up putting out.
So how does this turn into an idea of, hey, maybe we should make this a movie, and then Netflix gets on board, and now all of a sudden it's in front of 150 or 80 million subscribers worldwide? I mean, how has it been to take me from the beginning when you guys thought about making it into a visual spectacle to today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little overwhelming because obviously I live here, not Hollywood, so it all seems.
Come on now.
We have Beverly Hills, Michigan. That's what I would say, right? We have it all. It's just a concept of saying, how can we tell the story different ways? We're writing about it daily. Is it longer feature stories that you're putting on Yahoo Sports and things like that? Is it a documentary? How do we do it? At one point, we with a company called Blackfin out of New York that we partnered up with, made a documentary film. We were in some documentary film festival in New York City. That attracted Netflix. They said, hey, let's make this one of the docuseries you can binge on. And it's such a rich story. It's a tragic story. It's a sad story, but it is a story with so many different elements in it. And I think that's what really shocks people is I think a lot of people have heard of, they know about Aaron Hernandez and they know something about it, certainly sports fans, but you watch this whole thing and you go, these different angles and these different elements that come into it are stunning. And so you get as many people as we could possibly find that would talk to us.
What's maybe one thing that really sticks out to you as like a jaw dropper or something that you couldn't really kind of wrap your head around?
Well, early on you hear, well, here's New England Patriots stars, a potential involvement in a homicide, and you think, you know, what is this? You know, did he rent a car? Does he have a friend that did something? I mean, you just can't imagine him being the trigger man. And then all of a sudden, oh, well, there's a double homicide. Oh, well, there's a shooting here. Oh, well, he might have tried to silence a witness here. You go through all of that. You have the his wrestling with, he had numerous abuse as a child in different ways, wrestling with his sexuality in a football environment where that's not always very comfortable. And then the eventual suicide itself stunned everybody, including people who knew him far better than I did. This is all stuff that's true. And this guy, he was incarcerated at 23. I mean, this was not a long life that he lived. He only played in the NFL 3 years. He was at the University of Florida with Tim Tebow for 3 years, and that was about it that anyone knew him. You know, and then it's a story that's not just about Aaron. It's all the people, the families that lost people, the betrayals. I mean, it's a tragic tale. It has so many different elements to it. So I think that's why the reaction's been what it has been.
Beverly Hills turning into Hollywood because of this
I
guy.
don't live in Beverly Hills either,
Well,
but we have it.
You go visit.
There's no hills there.
You
either.
go visit Beverly Hills.
There's no
and
hills in Beverly Hills. Have we noticed that?
No, we have not. Dan, thanks so much for coming in. I'm going to let the full trailer play right now so you can watch it. And of course, it's available on Netflix for you. We'll be right back after the trailer.
No one has allegedly murdered 2 people and then played an entire season as a professional athlete.
I can't wait to be free.
I'm Aaron Hernandez from Bristol, Connecticut, and I play at Bristol Central High School.
Aaron Hernandez was a different level of athlete.
He was kind.
He wasn't someone who picked on other kids.
He's one of the best players in America. Get him the ball.
The Patriots reward him with a $40 million contract.
Aaron Hernandez was a ticking time bomb. The why is the story here.
He was out to prove something, like a tough guy all the time.
He had a second residence.
The flop house. He had trouble with drugs, with guns.
Aaron was absolutely operating on the edge.
New England Patriot Aaron Hernandez was arrested this morning at his residence.
Aaron was accused of murdering Odin Lloyd, his future brother-in-law.
How can an individual who has everything get involved in something like this?
I was the happiest little kid in the world, and you me up.
I ain't living with that.
You did. I had nobody. What do you think I was gonna do? Become a perfect angel?
Aaron was extremely terrified of his father.
Violent outbursts were not uncommon in the Hernandez home.
Aaron had a history of concussion-related injuries.
At the drop of a hat, he became angry and violent.
He had everything and threw it all away. We had to hide what we were. He was in such denial.
Aaron had reason to fear for his own life.
I wanted revenge.
None of it makes sense.
The story is not just the Aaron Hernandez story. There's a lot of lives affected by this guy.
Had to be shocked for all your teammates.
Next question. I'm gonna explode.
Welcome back to the FamilyDeal.com 7 Sports Cave. How about a little bit of a brighter story? Earlier this week, Dylan Larkin welcomed a young cancer survivor to Red Wings practice. He met Michael Baincheski at the Rocket Mortgage Classic last summer, and since then, they've kept in touch. Brad Galley has this great story.
Few Red Wings fans get to watch practice in person. Michael Baincheski isn't just any Red Wings fan.
He just loves life. If he can't make you smile, there's something wrong with you.
14 years old, Michael is a cancer survivor. This summer, he befriended Dylan Larkin at the Rocket Mortgage Classic.
He was shouting, D-Boss, D-Boss, and Jimmy Howard actually heard him. He walked right over, he lifted the rope and said, come on in, and Michael was with them for the rest of the time.
The golf tournament was a little unfamiliar for me, but he was my loudest supporter and my biggest fan there, so that's when you know he's a great friend, when he supports me on the golf course too.
Larkin exchanged email addresses with Michael's dad with the promise to welcome the family for a practice. A man of his word, Larkin invited the Baincheskis to Little Caesars Arena.
New stick for you.
A long practice on the Belfour rink led to the main rink and a reunion of friends.
Yes!
Michael's finally on a Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. On it. Nugget.
Michael toured the Players Club, the locker room, met other Red Wings, and sat at his buddy's locker.
What do you like so much about hanging out with Dylan?
Great.
Where did you guys meet the first time?
Golf tournament.
What were you screaming?
D-boss.
His enthusiasm and how excited he is to be a Red Wing today, and always supporting us just from the moment I met him.
For a friendship that started in the summer, the support Dylan offers Michael left his parents full of emotions.
It gives me faith in humanity, and there are good people in this world, and I'm very grateful for all of it.
Thanks for all of your support from your best friend, Dylan Larkin.
Thanks, Larkin.
I got nothing to add to that. Great stuff, Dylan. Up next, a few final thoughts. Be right back. Welcome back to the 7 Sports Cave. Super Bowl 54 is all set. The San Francisco 49ers back for the first time since Jim Harbaugh took them there against his brother, of course. We all know how that blackout bowl went with the Ravens getting it done. But the 49ers story is a really interesting one. Mike Sullivan brought it up earlier on the show because for the past 2 seasons, 49ers stunk. They traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, a young, unproven quarterback. They filled a void at running back behind Tevin Coleman, behind another big-time player for Raheem Mostert, and they get all the way to the Super Bowl. The reason I'm bringing this up, because here in Detroit, we obviously have a little bit of a problem with how our current team is doing things. You kind of have to sometimes let the process play out. I know that's an unpopular take. We've been waiting 50-some years for a playoff win beyond that. So I understand that championships are hard to come by here for Detroit Lions. But if you look around the league, which is a copycat league, make no mistake, understand that some of the things the Lions are trying to do are some of the things that have gotten these people to the positions that they're currently in. It's not great right now. I get it, but it's not completely bleak either. That's all I got for you this week. Have yourself a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.